Good evening and welcome to the local campaign, helping voters make an informed choice in the upcoming municipal election. I'm Kim Wilson and I'll be your host this evening. Tonight we have the regional chair debate. There are 4 candidates vying to succeed former regional chair Ken Sealing. They are Jay Asa, Karen Redman, Jan Dai, and Rob Deutschman. Speaking order was drawn before the debate. So with his opening remarks, I'll hand it over to Jay.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jay Asa. I am one of the 4 candidates running for the position of regional chair. First, I would like to offer my best wishes to my 3 opponents who are here with me tonight. And each and every one of us believe that regional Waterloo is one of the best places in Canada. There is where we live and work and choose to raise our families. Each of us believe that we have something special to offer to our city and township. If we do not believe this, we will not be sitting here tonight, and none of us will be putting in the time and effort to conduct our campaign. All political campaigns are about ideas. All political campaigns are about present our vision for the future. It will be up to you, the voter, to decide whether one of us sitting here tonight, there will be the most realistic plan to guide the region of Waterloo. I have 3 visions I wanted to discuss with you tonight. First, a new state-of-the-art, high-tech teaching hospital for our region. Second is new and efficient master transportation plan for the region of Waterloo that will be beneficial to all of us. And third, we need to give more of our attention to our first response, our police, our firefighter, our ambulance people, and our EMT, to make this sure that they have the equipment and the staff to proper do their job. I look forward to this debate. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay. Karen?
Hi, I'm Karen Redman. I value the trust you've placed in me as a member of Regional Council. I'm committed to you and your quality of life. Public service is a responsibility, and it's also a tremendous privilege. Serving at the helm of Waterloo Region is a unique opportunity. As we forge ahead, we need to maintain the unique hometown feel that we all value. With an eye on priorities ahead, it's important that the region has a leader who can build partnerships, strive for consensus, address challenges, and initiate growth. It is equally as important that we embrace a vision that touches all of our families in every corner of our region. One of the key strengths of our region is its diversity. We are home to several unique communities and a broad economic base. Part of being effective as regional chair is providing a forum for the diversity to be heard. Building a strong, vibrant, prosperous region is about putting your priorities at the center. We need experienced leadership to work through with all other levels of government and to build partnerships in a global community. I look forward to your debate.
Thanks, Karen. Jan?
Yes, thank you, Liz. Hello, I'd like to introduce myself first. My name is not Miss Jan Daly. Lots of people get it wrong. You did get it right, but Jan Dai. It's a real pleasure to be here. So I was born to Dutch parents. I have an MBA. I've worked and lived around the world before moving here to Waterloo Region. I joined Babcock and Wilcox in Cambridge about 25 years ago. There I played a senior role on a team that saw sales grow to over $500 million per year. And I was also responsible for the strategic and business planning of the entire corporate organization, which was about $1.5 to $1.7 billion in annual sales. From there, I joined the senior team at what is now called GE Water Technologies in Guelph, where we successfully introduced a new water treatment technology around the world. At that time, when I did that, Waterloo was going through its Rim Park financing fiasco. I knew at the time I had the skills to be able to address that challenge, so I stepped up to help deal with that. So in spite of a very angry public and a very reluctant staff, we implemented a public consultation process from which a politically acceptable solution emerged to deal with a significant funding shortfall at the time. During that process of finding the facts, I also uncovered the cover-up within City Hall. I led many other initiatives including environmental protection of the Waterloo Moraine, public acceptance of the uptown Waterloo Square, and creating a strategy to build a fully connected active transportation system in the city, and putting an arts organization back on stable financial footing. I took initiative and leadership on lots of projects at City Hall. I made things happen at City Hall. I have a track record of success in both big business and at municipal politics, and I bring a world of experience to the position of regional chair.
Thanks, Jan. Rob.
Thank you, Kim. Hi, I'm Rob Deutschman, and I want to be your next regional chair for Waterloo Region. I'm a lifelong resident of Waterloo Region, raised in Waterloo and now living in Ayr in North Dumfries Township for the past 25 years. I've been a lawyer in Waterloo Region for 23 years with offices in Kitchener and Cambridge. I was mayor of North Dumfries Township and a regional councillor from 2010 to 2014. My record of accomplishments in politics, in business, and in my community demonstrates that I am ready to serve the people of Waterloo Region as regional chair. Under the good stewardship of our retiring regional chair, Ken Sealing, we have become a prosperous and growing community, diverse socially and economically. We have a strong tech sector throughout the region, well-regarded colleges and universities, prosperous farms and busy factories, and a thriving commercial sector. Many people in Waterloo Region have benefited from our prosperity and their lives have improved. However, some have not. Some not to the fullest. It is said that a rising tide lifts all boats. We need to find new ways to allow more people to ride that tide and rise up. My priorities include affordable housing, addiction services, safer and healthier communities, improved transit within and outside the region, protected and connected cycling infrastructure, economic development, strengthening our balance sheet, and promoting the Waterloo Region brand both nationally and internationally. At the end of my time as your regional chair, I want the region to be a stronger, safer place with more people benefiting from our prosperity because of the works and programs we develop and implement together. Let's keep moving forward. Check out my website, robforchair.ca, and I hope I will earn your support on October 22nd. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. To start our question and answer portion of the debate, we now go to Waterloo Chronicle reporter Adam Jackson.
With the province of Ontario seemingly unwilling to allow or fund supervised injection or consumption sites, what do you feel is the next step for the region of Waterloo to tackle the ongoing opioid crisis?
And we'll start with Karen.
It's interesting that you start with this question because I have to tell you it's emotionally charged. And the opioid crisis is down the street, in our community, across our province, and across our country. I took the time to go to Moss Park and South Riverdale to talk to the people that have safe consumption sites there. And what really impressed me was the fact that there were members of the BIA on the board of directors. There were police officers there were healthcare providers, and there were outreach social workers. And what I found was that when they were able to do a wraparound and provide those kind of responses to a very extreme crisis, they were able to engage the 4 pillars which are absolutely fundamental to dealing with this crisis effectively. And that's prevention, harm reduction, treatment, recovery, and community security. There is no silver bullet to deal with this crisis. However, if we all work together, we can do that. Everybody deserves to feel safe in our community. We're waiting for the province to give us a response as to how they are going to go forward. But in the meantime, it's very important that those conversations continue to go ahead and that we talk to people in communities to find out their concerns, address those concerns, and find ways where we can have short-term solutions as well as long-term solutions for this very complex issue.
Thanks, Karen. Jan?
Yes, and as we know, as Karen said as well, it is an issue not only here in Waterloo Region, but across the province and across Canada as a whole. And when I look at this problem, there's really 2 parts to it. It's really the short-term solution, the short-term problem that we have right now. You know, last year we had 71 deaths in the area here. What's really interesting though is that most of those happen outside the traditional hot zones. And so when you look at the opioid crisis, you look at safe consumption sites and things like that, you can't look at just a single site. You've got to look in terms of where the death's happening and what kind of mobility do you need to be able to help prevent some of these overdoses from happening. So I think we must move forward and make sure we get the social workers out into the field, but also that we get mobile sites out so that we can be a little bit more proactive in being available to the people who are in need. The second part as well is terms of what program you put in on a prevention side. Where are our wraparound services that we have? So if someone's in trouble, someone feels very uncomfortable and know they need help, that there's somewhere to go. And right now, a lot of our social services, they're very much in silos. They're very much in silos, and not all the agencies are really talk together as well as they should, or cooperate as well as they really should. So we really got to go back and take a step back and says, perhaps we should take a look at the model in terms of how our social services are being offered. And what I think we need is we need a collaborative and an ecosystem type of approach to how we manage our social services. Just like in the high-tech sector, we have lots of different agencies who promote high-tech companies, each provide a different flavor of the same type of support for a new startup, for a new startup. That same fundamental thinking, where you have a multitude of very grassroots organizations, each being able to provide a service for a special flavor of people is the direction
We have to stop
we
you
need to go.
there. Sorry. Okay, and Rob.
Sure. Adam, you raise a good question. If the province isn't going to be funding safe consumption sites, what are we going to be doing? Which is basically the essence of your question. Because no doubt everyone understands that safe consumption sites do save lives. I had an opportunity to visit the Insight location in Vancouver. I visited a safe consumption site in Calgary, and I had a chance to go down to Hamilton and visit with it's a temporary overdose prevention site, which acts similarly to a safe consumption site. The issue for Hamilton is that their funding only lasts until November because it's a temporary situation. They don't know if it's going to continue on after that. If we don't get funding, what are we going to do? I think we have to continue to collaborate with social agencies in the community and say, what can we do? We have needle exchange programs, for example. We have to come up with harm prevention strategies that we can undertake here in the region without the need for provincial funding, because again, provincial funding is uncertain. It's not only provincial funding, it's also whether the province will ask the feds to exempt an area for a safe consumption site from the criminal code. So as Waterloo Region has always done in the past, as we did with discretionary benefits, when there's a cut, what we do is we rally together and we provide funding. And I have no doubt that Waterloo Region would consider funding for something like a safe consumption site, but if the province isn't playing ball with us, then we can't go ahead and march ahead with it. So collaboration is a key, working with local social agency groups, together with the region and the municipalities to find out. And also too, it's a significant issue with respect to the local municipalities, and we have to find a solution and work with the local municipalities to find a solution that fits for them. And I think of Cambridge, for example. We have to work with the community of Cambridge, with the council in Cambridge, and with the social agencies in Cambridge to find a solution that works for them.
Thanks, Rob. Jay?
I had a chance to visit Toronto and actually inspect the site where they have the plant. And I had a chance to visit Halton area region, and I did, as a business owners, we trying to look for a solution that's going to make sense. What we found that the facility located on specific place, it doesn't work. So when I looked at the Waterloo Halton region, and they have the mobile, what they call the mobile site, and it goes from one site to another, we found out the success a lot higher than just one physically plant one place. And this way, it allowed to everybody have a chance to go around instead of having it all one spot. And this is the most important part that I felt as a business owner, that is a lot fairer for everybody to go around. And instead of having only in Kitchener or Cambridge, have it to transfer around and take care of all of these issues in one shot. And having a nurse, a social worker beside them, I found out it's a lot more people happier to do that instead of just physically put up the spot in one place. That's my idea for SIS site.
Thanks, Jay. So our next question will come from the Greater Kitchener-Waterloo Chamber of Commerce, Vice President Art Sinclair.
Another issue that all municipalities across Ontario and Canada have been facing for the last number of years has been low-income housing support. It's been an issue in Waterloo region and, as I mentioned, across Ontario. What would you propose to increase the number of low-income housing units in your municipality?
And we'll start with Jan.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question, Art. And low-income housing, as you know, is a big issue here, and probably be one of the defining issues in the long term in terms of how the region handles this issue. So there's two aspects to dealing with low-income housing. One is what do you do on the demand side? How much demand is there for low-income housing? And the other part is on the supply side. How much supply is there actually out there? So on the demand side, if people have good jobs and good income support or guaranteed minimum income and things like that, their income goes up, and so the demand will go down. So some of those things are a little bit outside the control of our municipality directly, but certain things that we have to advocate for to make sure that that the support programs and income support programs are working as well as possible to be able to make sure that those who need some extra help can increase their income to be able to afford housing. So that's the one aspect, to decrease the demand for supply. And the other part of it is, of course, is to increase the supply of housing. And there's many ways to be able to do that. And I think one of the best things you've got to do is you've got to work with your community members and with your developers. And there are many options. One is to work with the developers. And as they develop divisions, subdivisions, or as they develop high-rise housing, that a certain allocation of those units are set aside as low-income housing, between 10 and 15%, for example. There are other community-based organizations as well who can use a lot, who you can support, who also provide and specialize in providing very low-income housing as well. So you've got to create that community network of those support agencies and provide them with a tremendous amount of support. So you really have the two aspects. You have to work with the community members and try to increase the demand, increase the supply of the housing. And you've got to work on the income side so you can reduce the demand for those houses.
Thanks, Jan. Rob?
Thank you. Affordable housing is probably the priority issue for the next regional council. I've said that it's my priority issue as well. The region has been a leader in the development of affordable housing, but we can do better. We need to build as many as we can, as quickly as we can, by all means possible. How do we do that? I think it's important that we continue to collaborate, as the region has traditionally done, to continue to work with public and private members, public social agencies that are involved in housing, private developers who are putting up big projects that we have in our community, and find ways that we have a mix and ensure that we don't have what we see sometimes in certain areas is the gentrification of a neighborhood where people are pushed out of certain areas. We have to ensure that we have an adequate mix of housing to provide all people in the same area. Recently, I heard on a radio show, I was listening, and Joe Mancini from the Working Center was talking about the great work they were doing. And right after that interview, we had a representative from the region who was talking about the work they were doing. It was interesting because Joe was talking about their work and was almost pleading for government to do more and provide more funding. And government was talking about, the regional government was talking about how much they're doing. It just didn't seem like there was that communication happening between the two groups. My view is almost that we need to have someone who's like a housing czar, an affordable housing czar, for example, who is charged with doing everything they can to collaborate and bring all the groups together to build, as I said, as many as we can within our community. And it's going to require that joint effort from a private and public partnership. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Jay?
Thank you. When I looked at the amount of waiting time, it's almost like 6 to 7 years waiting for affordable housing. I was shaking my head and I'm saying 6 to 7 years waiting time. This is a long time for any family to wait, or person to wait for that long. And one of the things I will do is make an incentive to builders and developers to start building affordable housing. And this is the only way we can catch up. Otherwise, we're never going to catch up. You know, it doesn't matter what you do as a region, as a city. You know what? You have to work a program or private sector and start building these houses. 6 to 7 years is not acceptable. I promise you. If I be the regional chair, I will make sure that thing will go to half the first 4 years of my term. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay. And Karen?
This is a really key issue. I've just come off of 7 years with Habitat for Humanity Waterloo region, and I have to tell you there are many developers within this region that give back to the community. What I saw with the families, the partner families, and it's affordable home ownership at Habitat for Humanity, the stability that came from having your child always do their homework at the kitchen table, know that they're not going to change schools because they're always looking for a cheaper accommodation, that they can make friends in the community. It's a transformative piece of all of the needs that we all have. So social housing, affordable housing, and supportive housing sometimes all get mixed in with homelessness. And the reality is there's a whole bunch of streams of needs that exist. For about a year as the CEO of Habitat for Humanity Waterloo region, I worked with my caucus colleagues in Ontario petitioning the provincial government for inclusionary zoning. And that would be a tool that developers would have, and if they added some social housing for a certain amount of time, usually it's 20 years, they would be able to build more units. That unfortunately died on the order paper, but there's also intensification bonusing, which is in force, and that's where developers can choose a variety of options to build higher and larger accommodations. It works for the region's intensity targets that the province has set, and it is something that developers can opt to do. I'm a big fan of mixed use so that we don't have all social housing in one area, but they're dispersed throughout the community. The region has used a housing first model for a very long time, and it's that kind of stability that we work with the broader community to build more housing units and supportive housing units that I think will be the key to us moving forward. There is no doubt that there is need right across the region, and more needs to be done.
Thanks, Karen. So we come back to Adam Jackson for the next question.
Based on our experiences from stage 1 of light rail transit in the region, what changes, if any, do you propose for stage 2, which extends from the south of Kitchener into Cambridge? Further, the current timeline for the next stage of LRT is about 10 years from now. Do you agree with that timing?
And we'll start with you, Rob.
Sure, thank you. Throughout this campaign, I've held town hall meetings on a weekly basis throughout the region. One in each of the townships, and now I've had an opportunity to hold town halls in Kitchener, Waterloo, and Cambridge. As well, I met recently with a number of the good folks from the Preston area who have some concerns about the ION extension through their neighborhood. First of all, I'm not in favor of the extension of phase 2 of the ION unless we have full funding guaranteed from the provincial and or federal governments. If we can't get that funding, then we can't proceed. The debt load that we have from the first phase is significant. The region is managing that debt load. We've maintained a AAA credit rating, but I have concerns about taking on any additional debt. Next, something that would be disruptive to a community, and we're not sure when funding is going to happen, concerns me as well. I know the region is pushing ahead with respect to looking at a certain route, and EAs, or environmental assessments, are going to start soon. But I would be in favor of opening up that issue and having another look at the various routes. I'm concerned about disrupting people's lives, talking about taking people's homes for a project that may not happen for decades to come. That concerns me significantly. And with respect to the extension into Cambridge, if you had one pot of money and you could either build the ION phase 2 with it or provide GO from Milton to Cambridge, and you ask Cambridge what do they want, they would tell you the preference would be GO from Milton to Cambridge. I would actively work with Cambridge Council and the people in Cambridge to try and make that happen. I think that is a bigger priority, along with, of course, 2-day, all-day GO and high speed, but that Milton to GO connection I think is important and would be more of a priority to me than the second phase of ION. I recognize the development work that goes on, but these are people's lives and this is a significant issue. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. And Jay.
That was a good question. That was my favorite question of all time. You know, LRT has always been my flavor, right? So to me, I talked to Cambridge people, and I talked to a few people out there, and you know what? They brought it to my attention that it's not fair for them. They're paying taxes for it, and they're not going to have the LRT. And that's why I made it as my second part of my vision. I think we already did one phase. We have to go to finish the second phase. For us, that's why I said we have to have a master plan of transportation. What does that mean? It means we have to connect all the cities and the township at one package. So it doesn't matter if you're in Elmira, if you're in Cambridge, if you're in Kitchener or Waterloo, that you'll be able to jump on the bus or a train and get to the point you want. Otherwise, it's not fair to the rest of the township and the city of Cambridge not to have the whole master plan together. And when I get elected as a regional chair, I'll make sure the master plan will be on a regional building so everybody have a chance and input to tell us how they like it to happen. Because it's not us who's gonna be making decisions. It's the people who's gonna make those decisions. And that's why I like to see that point, because the last time in the last election, we said it was too expensive to do LRT. Now that LRT is here, we have to make it work for the rest of the plan. Otherwise, we wasted $1 billion for no reason. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay. And Karen?
So the LRT has always been about moving people, but it's as important a planning tool as it is a people mover. And in order to be a player on the global stage, we need to have an LRT that connects the entire region and will connect with high-speed rail and all-day two-way go. Cambridge has already had some investment. Yes, they are paying taxes towards it, but they have had their bus stops and their stations upgraded. I too have talked to people in Grand Hill Village, and I've talked to people in Preston, and they've made many delegations. And the result of that, the phase 2 route that is under consideration currently and other alternatives have changed. So they have been listened to. They are very articulate. They've done their homework, and I commend them on being very active participants in how we go forward. But if we're going to be a player on a global stage, we need an airport that's viable. We need LRT. We need a connection to the GTA. One of the biggest steps forward that I have seen in my tenure on regional council this term, excuse me, has been the economic development marketing our region as part of a bigger whole that includes the GTA on the global stage. This is a visionary mode of transportation. It's green. It gets people where they want to go, when they want to go. There have been lessons learned in phase 1, but about $3 billion of investment has been put into Kitchener-Waterloo, and there is every reason to believe that that is the same kind of investment that Cambridge will see when it comes there. It's an important piece that we have to continue to complete. And the financing, we were early adopters. It was a third, a third, a third. So a third from the regional tax base, a third from the province, and a third from the federal government. There have been different formulas struck, and I would certainly go to Queen's Park and talk to our federal counterparts and get a better deal for Waterloo region.
Thanks, Karen. And Jan?
Yeah, thank you. The LRT is a very, very important as well. I've been advocate for the LRT right from the get-go at the very beginning, and dealt with some of the political fallout because of that as well. But I think, generally speaking, people realize the LRT is the right thing for the region. And certainly, as we grow up, instead of growing out, we need to really drive our transportation system in place. And so I think we should move absolutely as quickly as possible forward to get the LRT right down through Cambridge. There's some groups through the Preston groups and the other groups, the Grand River groups. Certainly we have to make sure their voices are being heard, and those are taken they have full consideration of their concerns, because they have done their homework, as Karen has said. We have to make sure those voices are heard. So I think we should move as quickly as possible, and if it costs the region a little bit of money, I think we have to do that. It's a fundamental investment, and that investment will pay itself back in spades over time. So on top of the LRT, we got to make sure we get all the buses in place with that as well, and we have to make sure we develop a very good and solid active transportation system as well. Where are the bicycle trails and the walking trails that will connect to the bus stations and connect to the LRT as well? And right now the region hasn't adopted a master plan for an active transportation system. That requires a lot of cooperation with the cities and with the townships, but our priority's got to be able to get that active transportation part in place as well. An active network with the LRT as well, of course, has got to connect to a two-way all-day go from both Cambridge and from Kitchener. You know, for us not to have active go to get quickly to downtown Toronto or to get quickly to Pearson Airport, you know, we're 2018. You know, this should have happened years and years and years ago. And if I had an extra dollar to spend on the airport or on two-way, all-way go train, I would put them on the trains and get that going. A very effective train. I'll leave it at that. Time's
Yep,
up.
you have to stop you, sorry. Okay, so the next question is back to Adam.
This next question continues along the same line as what Mr. Dai was just speaking about. With the hopes of high-speed rail all but quashed, what should be the next priority for the region of Waterloo when it comes to creating stronger transit between here and Toronto?
And we'll start with Jay.
Right. Well, the biggest and strongest is the GO Transit all day long. I think that's going to be on my watch, and this is what is becoming part of the whole master plan of transportation, and to have it all connection so people in Elmira can jump in on the bus and jump in on Waterloo train and jump in off of Kitchener or Cambridge and take GO Transit down to Toronto. That's what I was saying and talking about the master plan. We can't pick and choose what we're gonna do. We already started. So when we started it, we gotta finish it. And I know that that level is high, but you gotta look at it as a business vision. To have it to work, you need the package. You can't already start with one package and stop it. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm gonna tell you exactly how it is, and I'm gonna tell you as a business person what we need to do. And that's my goal, is to put the plan together to attach or continue the buses and trains together to go transit to Toronto. And that's gonna make things a lot better and faster, less wait on the 401. And that's the whole idea behind master plan.
Thanks, Jay. Karen.
I happen to have a son who's an engineer and commutes daily to Mississauga, and I have to tell you, every time I turn on the radio and I hear that the 401 is shut down yet again, I just think, gee, I hope Jim got through there before the bottleneck. The bottleneck on the 401 is an economic blight to everybody in Southern Ontario. Right now, Waterloo Region is a net recipient of commuters, which means we have as many people or more coming into the region to work who live outside the region as we have living in the region and going outside. It's a concern for the GTA as well. I think we have to continue to work with other levels of government. A continuous, well-planned transit system between Toronto going to Windsor is the best interest in for the province as well as the federal government. So again, I think we need to talk to those other levels of government, and we need to form partnerships. We need to take forward the vision that works for the people of Waterloo Region and say, this is what we need. There is no doubt that people love to live, work, and raise their families in Waterloo Region, but we are part of a global community. We know that the GTAA, the Pearson Airport, is almost at capacity, and it is now looking at ways to move people to other regional airports. We have a great regional airport. Hamilton has one, London has one. So it's in everybody's best interest economically to make sure that as we market this region on the global stage, that we have seamless, effective transportation, and we can never overlook the need for having accessible transportation. I've just stepped off of the board of the Independent Living Centre of Waterloo Region, and people living with disabilities need to be able to get where they want to go, when they want to go.
Thanks, Karen. And Jan?
Also, to follow up where I was going before, you know, absolutely we need effective transportations going back and forth. And it says we're 2019 and we don't even have our two-way, all-way go trip between here and Toronto. And it just has to happen. You know, it's just an economic, as Karen said, it's just an economic blot in the area. And if there's not going to be the high-speed train system between here and Windsor, we've got to push doubly hard in terms of what's going to be feasible in the short term. It's got to be the integrated system. I'm going to leave it at that. It's just got to happen, and we've got to get the two-way, all-day go train system as fast as possible.
Thanks, Jan. Rob?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm a big supporter of the work that the tech community is trying to do and Waterloo Region has been doing with respect to the Toronto to Waterloo Region corridor, the Silicon Valley of the North. It's crucial that we provide the proper amount and the proper type of transportation along that corridor. It's vital. The tech companies in our community are screaming out for better transit between Toronto and Waterloo. So 2-day, all-day go is crucial. High speed, obviously, would be something that we still have to continue to advocate for. When you consider the 401 is probably one of the worst highways in North America. It's got to be in the top 5. And when you have a shutdown in traffic on the 401, just think about the number of people that are sitting in their cars and the hours and dollars that are wasted in terms of all those people sitting there. We have to continue to, as Waterloo Region always has, we need to continue to advocate for our community with groups like Metrolinx and the province to get as much investment here as possible. I strongly advocate for the 2-day, all-day go. I strongly advocate as well, and will advocate for the Milton to Cambridge connection. It's vital. We do not have in this area an adequate park and go system. When I'm in Ayr and I want to go to downtown Toronto, I actually go to Brantford and catch the VIA. I park my car, hop on the VIA, and within 1 hour and 5 minutes, I am at Union Station. It's tremendous. It's a great ride, and it's obviously a good time in terms of the amount of time to go. So advocating is crucial. The airport, of course, is vital. I consider the airport a significant tool for economic development in our community, and we have to continue to have faith in the airport, faith in the people that are managing it, because it will pay dividends in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. And we go back to Adam for another question.
The region of Waterloo is one of 4 municipalities in Ontario considered as a construction employer. Because of that, the region is restricted to companies that are either unionized or have very specific health and safety standards. Do you, as regional chair, plan to lobby the provincial government to either change this law or remove the designation?
And we'll begin with you, Karen.
It's been an ongoing issue, and we talk to our provincial counterparts, and I would say that we would continue to do that, but we have the rules the way they are right now, and we need to respect them.
Thanks.
I have
Jan?
the same answer.
Okay. Rob?
My answer is a little different. So I think it's vital that the region lobby the government to make the changes to the legislation to allow us to move from a closed bid tendering process to an open bid tendering process. For the sake of 2 people that put a shed together or put up a shelf somewhere, we are stuck in this region with a situation where we now have to have unionized bidders for projects. No one is going to tell me, as a business person, that a closed bid tendering process is better for our region than an open bid tendering process. We have some significant contractors in this community who are unable to bid on projects on behalf of the region because of this closed bid tendering process. This is, we could say, an anomaly in the legislation. The region got caught. We're not the only ones. City of Kitchener, Sault Ste. Marie, Hamilton perhaps, other regions are in the same situation. With the change in government, we need to lobby the Conservative government and ask for that change so that we can open up the tendering process here and save the taxpayers money. Thank you.
Thanks. Jay?
I agree with Robert. You know, one of the things I'll be lobbying for changing the open tender to becoming an open. Imagine if we had to build water treatment on University today, we will have only 3 bidders doing. You know what the cost on that will be comparing to last time when we had it was a open bid. It was more than 16 people bidding on that job. This is going to cost the region a lot more than we were anticipating. So it's very important to us to make sure we have to talk to the province to change the open bid, and that's what we need to do. And that's what I say. I agree with Rob 100%. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay. So back to you, Adam.
One of the hot topics right now around the province is efficiency of government. Do you believe that there's appetite from the general public to reduce the amount of elected officials either on regional council or in the municipalities that make it?
And we're going to start with Jan.
Yeah, that's a very topical question, as you said, and people are talking about it. And I think we have to be very open to talking about different forms in terms of what our government is. And people talk, we have 56 or 58 politicians here. But you also look at it a different way. We only have 4 full-time politicians. The rest are part-timers, and they make part-time salaries. And so you can also have an argument that says, the people who are working on a part-time basis, they're closer to the community, they're closer to the issues, and they perhaps make a better representative and can make better, more informed decisions reflective of what the population's desire is. So yes, there's an appetite to talk about it. And this links very closely in terms of government reform or governance structures. There's been a lot of talk, with Rob Ford, what he's doing with Toronto, amalgamations coming to Waterloo or to Waterloo region. And people jump on the bandwagon, do we want this or not? But I think we've got to take a step back. I don't want to jump on the amalgamation bandwagon. But what I do want to do is, let's take a step back. What's working really well in our two-tier government system? Because lots of things work really well with a higher level and a lower level split of responsibilities. And then let's find out what are those parts that aren't working so well. And then from there, maybe we can find, do we have to fine tune it, do we have to make some changes? But I think we've got to be very open to having that conversation in terms of how we can streamline our governance structure. So from that perspective, I think Rob Ford did us a great favor, because it lets us open the door to have our conversations here in terms of how we can better manage ourselves for the long term. Times change. The last time we had a review here was in the 1990s. That's 25 years ago. So I think it's very worthwhile to have a discussion in terms of what do we think is, how can we improve how we govern ourselves.
Thanks, Jan. Rob.
Thank you. Adam, interesting question, but efficiencies extend beyond just the politicians. We also have to look at department staff, et cetera, all those sorts of things when we're talking about efficiency in government. When I do my town halls across the region, we talk about things like amalgamation, and the issue of the number of politicians comes up because they always use that as an example of what's happening in Toronto. But it's not just reducing the number of politicians. That's an easy target, and I'm not certain that is always the correct target. The region itself already does a number of reviews on an annual basis in their various departments to ensure that they're operating as efficiently as possible. When I was regional councillor back from 2010 to 2014, I brought in a resolution that brought in an outside auditor. It was approved by council, where we brought in an outside auditor, KPMG at the time, to examine a number of departments to make sure that the region was operating as efficiently as possible. As a business person in my own business, I'm always looking for efficiencies within my operation and how we can do things better. And that's what we as politicians and people around, the 16 people at council, have to do, is ensure that we're looking for those efficiencies. On my website, I have a section that talks about corporate governance, and some of the issues that I raise are, for example, are some departments getting to be too large? Are they becoming inefficient, and should we be taking a look at that? We need that sort of internal review. We need that sort of fresh eyes to come in, take a look at what we have at Regional Council, and push the edges of the envelope to say, are we doing the best we can? And if we are doing the best we can, great, but we have to be prepared to challenge and push that issue. And so efficiencies is an important issue, but it's not just the number of politicians. It extends to a much broader field of issues. And I have dealt with this issue in the past, and I'm prepared to deal with this issue going forward as regional chair.
Thanks. Jay.
That's a good question. In the business, like Rob said, we're always looking for efficiency. And I'll tell you a little bit about efficiency about Waterloo region and the cities. And it's a simple, I'm in the fencing business, and as simple as a fencing business, the city of Waterloo have its own bylaws, the city of Cambridge have its own bylaws, the city of Kitchener have its own bylaws, and Elmira has its own bylaws. Why do we need 4 different bylaws for a simple fencing? Why not just make it one straight bylaw for the Waterloo region? Those what I call it efficiency. That's what I look for as a regional chair, is where can we amalgamate some of the point, some of doubling the services and make it one, and eliminate some of those things to make it more efficient for the region and the taxpayer. Those are the things that the business owner, in the balance sheet, you look through it and trying to cut the fat, what I call it. And the reason why, to make it more efficient, better operator, and better invest the money in the different services that we need. And that's what, as a regional chair, that's what's going to be my responsibility, to make sure all this efficiency is in place. We can't run the way we've been running. We need to change the direction we're going. So that's what I'm looking for. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay. And Karen.
So Adam, it's a really interesting question. I was knocking in the Max Becker area of Kitchener this week, and a little girl came to the door with her mom, and she said, Regional Council, well, what does Regional Council do? And I said, it's really interesting because it is confusing. I said, we look at Regional Council, we look after all the important stuff. We look after policing, water, wastewater. We look after land use. We look after recycling and waste management. We look after social housing, which we've all agreed is a very important issue. And we look after social supports. So she was really pretty impressed with what the region does right now. So then she said, well, then what do cities do? And I said, well, if you go to the local playground and you play soccer, or you skate at the local arena, and we have regional roads and we have city roads. And I don't know if I was clarifying or making things a little bit more confusing for her, but I tried to get her to understand that we have to work in partnership with the lower tier municipalities. And when I was getting ready for this election, I went around and I talked to senior officials at all levels of the government. And without being prompted to a person, they said to me that there was an air of cooperation that they have never seen before between the upper and lower tier. At the end of the day, the province is going to make this decision because it's their it's within their purview. What we need to ask ourselves is, are more efficiencies, it has to be greater than simply the number of elected officials. Is the structure change going to improve our response to social and economic opportunities? And will a single tier make business in the region easier to do and support neighborhoods if it were to be amalgamated? Those are the kinds of issues that we need to have a broad-based discussion. And the regions come of age, we can have a mature conversation about these things.
Thanks, Karen. So in the interest of time, Adam, we're going to have one more question, but we're going to give each of the candidates only 1 minute to respond. So back to you.
If elected, what is your plan to get more citizens to travel by foot, bicycle, or public transportation?
And Rob, you'll
Sure.
start.
Well, a number of issues. One is to obviously to continue to promote and advertise the availability. With respect to transit, as has been mentioned, the master plan, we need to improve connections. That's one of the biggest problems, is getting people out of their cars, is improving connections with respect to transit to get to the spine, the LRT spine, or throughout our region. With respect to cycling, I'm a strong advocate for protected bike lanes and connecting the current number of lanes that we have within our community. We're not doing a good job at it. We have to do better with respect to that. And with respect to walking more, when I was the mayor of North Dumfries Township, we provided the first master trails plan in our community, and I strongly encourage the region, I will strongly encourage the region to continue to invest in trails, in cycling paths, and better transit to get people out. We have to make it more convenient, more efficient, and better connected.
Thanks, Rob. Jay.
My idea about that, for us to make it more efficient, we have to have the buses. I always like the idea of Uber, how becoming a success stories, and a simple having a phone in the car and hiring people, and people taking it every day instead of a taxi or buses. If we can use that idea and trying to implement it to buses, and that's going to improve our people leaving their car at home and get it a lot faster to jump on the buses, and then that'll make them walk, because then you walk to the restaurant, you're going to walk to the place you want to go to instead of jumping in your car. We have to come in with an app that is going to improve the transportation part of it and make it better. And by doing that, building better trail, building bike areas, and those things is going to make automatically the whole city. We can't force the people who drive in car off their car for no reason.
Sorry. Thanks, Jay. Karen.
The active transportation plan is a very good plan and it's region-wide, but we need to monitor its implementation because governments measure what they value and change what they measure. The Grand River Conservation Area has a wonderful website that talks about the trails throughout the region and in the townships, and that's a really good resource to go to. But people want seamless transportation, whether they're on their bike or they're riding. And in order to do that, we have to coordinate better between regional roads and city roads. There's a really neat, innovative project going on with Kiwanis Bus in Elmira, and it's got a local loop that is hooking up to the Grand River Transit Bus 24. And it's that kind of innovation that will give us the seamless transportation that citizens want.
Thanks, Karen. Jan?
Yeah, this is a great question, right up my alley here. There have been a number of cycling groups that have presented plans. to the region and to the different cities as well, in terms of what an integrated active transportation network would look like. And we really have to make sure that those voices are heard, and those fundamental plans where you go back and not just do a snippet of a trail here and a snippet of a trail here and a snippet of a trail there. You got to take a step back and say, this is what the network's going to be, and then you put the next dollar of investment to fill those gaps in. That's what we did in Waterloo. That's what we need to do at the region as well. So we need to get that commitment in terms of what that plan looks like. We need the cooperation, because it's two levels between the region and the cities, and we need to increase a significant increase in funding for the active transportation. Some groups have put a target out there of $30 per capita on total investment in active transportation. That might not be the right number, but we should be heading in that direction.
Thanks, Jan. So at this time, we're going to move to the closing statements. Thank you, Adam, for the questions. You'll each have 2 minutes to make your remarks, and we're going to start with you, Rob.
Okay, thank you. And thank you to everyone that has participated in this debate. Lots of good ideas have been shared by everyone tonight. Opportunities like this for voters to become more aware of the candidates and their positions is important. Municipal politics is important. Municipal politics has the most direct impact on the lives of voters. And the election for a new regional chair makes this election especially important. Throughout my campaign, I've attempted to engage voters. Through my weekly town halls throughout the region, voters have come out and we have had conversations about local and regional issues of concern. It's important to reach out to voters, to listen to their concerns, and to help find solutions to those concerns. As regional chair, I plan to continue with town halls throughout the term, throughout the region. My record of accomplishments in politics, in business, and in my community demonstrates that I'm ready to serve the people of Waterloo Region as regional chair. My campaign theme is moving forward together. Regional government must be agile and responsive to ever-changing social, economic, and environmental influences that drive our economy and society. As a leader for positive change, regional government must stimulate the social and economic growth of our urban and rural communities to allow us all to prosper. And we'll need to work together, collaborating to make sure all voices in the region are heard, involving everyone who wants to be part of the solution to plan our future. At the end of my time as regional chair, I want the region to be a stronger place with more people benefiting from our prosperity because of the work and programs we develop and implement together. For more details about me and my vision for Waterloo Region, check out my website, robforchair.ca. And most importantly, get involved, get informed, and get out to vote on October 22nd. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Jay.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have lived in the region since 1982, and my wife, lived here for years to come. I have raised 5 children here and have the opportunity to start my business and make something of myself. Now I feel I have something to give back to the community that I love. You have heard from each of us, regional chair candidate, and you have heard each of us explaining our ideas and vision for our future. My vision for our future includes, first, a new high-tech hospital to complement our high-tech community. I will also commit to you that I will continue support all the 3 existing hospitals, and I commit to you that I will make sure that the existing renovation, expansion in our Cambridge Hospital are finished. However, in the coming years, with a population expecting to pass 700,000 people, we need new hospital. That is my first commitment to you. Next, we need a new master transportation plan, and we need to work with the LRT that is here now. We need to continue with the phase 2 of LRT from Kitchener to Cambridge. We also need to make sure that we are transportation for everyone in our region, including those commit to biking and using cycling and trail. We need to give more help to our first responder, police, firefighters, and EMT. They need equipment and more staff to reduce response time. An average response time of 30 minutes from our police forces is not safe. We can do better. Thank you for listening tonight. the choice in your head now, and I ask for your vote coming October 22nd. And thank you and good night.
Thanks, Jay. Karen.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Rogers and to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in. Every decision that is made at the region affects citizens the next day or the next week. I am committed to a better region for you and your family. But I'm not going to provide you with a laundry list of promises. That's never been my approach to public service. What I offer is solid leadership, a wide understanding of local priorities, and a healthy respect for your input. As you know, I am committed to working hard for you. Elections are an exciting opportunity, and I look forward to chatting with you throughout the campaign. Together we can move Waterloo Region forward and ensure our region is a place we're all proud to call home. Together we can build a strong, vibrant, and prosperous region. I invite you to go to my website, Redmond for Region, or contact me on social media with your concerns and questions. I welcome your input. I encourage you to vote on October 22nd. This is a very important election, and I ask for your support as Regional Chair.
Thanks, Karen. And yeah.
Thank you. Last but not least. So it's been a good debate. In the region, many things are going well, and the good things should continue. But there are some cracks that are starting to appear. So my priority as Regional Chair is really the investment in social infrastructure. We need to change our fragmented social services delivery model into a more robust and collaborative ecosystem. This is to ensure that services like mental health or affordable housing are available throughout our entire region, including the townships, and so that nobody, but absolutely no one, gets left behind. It's fine to do well economically, but it's the quality of life for all our residents that is the most important. My second priority is operational excellence. Let's make sure that the bureaucracy and the government is as cost-effective, nimble, and responsive to our community needs as possible. This will help keep taxes low and help ensure we don't run into unexpected problems. We live in a great region, economically, in terms of innovation, our history, our culture, our diversity, and our traditions. This is a great, great, great place to live. With the departure of Mr. Kinsealing, we need to elect a leader who has clearly demonstrable track record of success to ensure that the Waterloo region continues to prosper and that no one is left behind. A leader who understands that our diversity is our strength and that every voice is to be heard and every voice is to be respected. A leader with corporate business experience who knows what it takes to move bureaucracy and the size of this region's size to a new direction. A leader who's not afraid to take on the most difficult issues and has a track record of success. We need a leader with integrity, a leader who gets things done. I look around this stage. I am that leader. I bring a world of experience to the position of Regional Chair. Thank you.
Thanks. And thank you to the candidates. And thank you for watching, and good night.